Welcome to the Global Pulse, a short video series where our experts break down a trending topic in international business and why it matters to you.
This suggests a reform which the Israeli government is rushing to perform and has been warned by President Biden and other world leaders about rushing such an important process in this manner, is also creating havoc in Israel, including putting Israel in a more vulnerable situation economically, since this deters investors from making investments in business with Israel, as well as potentially having Israeli startups and tech leaders considering leaving Israel. An article just appeared last week at New York Times about this. If this happens, it will put Israel in an extremely difficult and vulnerable position, since being the startup nation is so core to Israel's identity. In a research I've published with Marco Pitessa and Tian He, we look at the relationship between financial vulnerability and zero-sum mindset in a negotiation context. What we find in this research is that when people are financially vulnerable, they are more likely to think about the world and the workplace in a zero-sum fixed buy manner, namely that one's gain necessarily means another person's loss. This zero-sum mindset, in turn, leads to less ability to create win-win situations in a negotiation, to leverage on different priorities across different issues, and to enlarge the pie for the benefits of both sides. How this connects to what is going on in Israel? First, the pandemic and rising cost of living and inflation may have put people on average in a more financially vulnerable situation. If this reform is going through, and it may have these dire financial implications as well, given the market reaction, this will exacerbate financial vulnerability. This is generally bad news, including bad news for any way to engage in a win-win conversation and resulting in very unproductive political discussions and discourses of winner coalition versus loser opposition. Another potential insight I would offer from my research is from research I've been conducting with Professor Vijaya Venkataramani and with collaborators Xin Liu and Jiu Mao. In this research, we are looking at managers who, by virtue of being managers, have official power, but who may have different levels of status or respect that they gain from others, like other managers in the organization. What we found in this research is that managers who have power but low status are in a very vulnerable position, which is, by the way, also supported by other research showing that having power with no status is a difficult situation that makes people more mean and aggressive towards others. What we find is that those managers who do not have a lot of respect from others in the organization are in a position in which they are vulnerable and become very territorial about their domain of expertise, wanting to protect their turf at all costs, which in turn makes them less likely to recognize and promote creative ideas suggested by the employee that can benefit the organization. And how this connects to what is happening in Israel? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the government currently enjoy high levels of power. But given the public pushback from the industry, the academic world in Israel and leaders around the world, one could see this as a situation in which they have little respect from the outside environment. This is a dangerous combination, which may deter them from being open to any negotiation or creative solutions that may potentially satisfy some of their concerns, some probably legitimate, with the existing legislative system, but does that in a way that is responsible, thoughtful, cautious. Even people of their own coalition who might want to come up with creative ideas to do that might not be heard. What we find in our research is that what helps mitigate the effect of territoriality and reduce creativity recognition is strong organizational identification. Would evoking the startup nation identity of Israel more strongly help doing that? Times will tell.